high school graduation. It's a happy day for the graduates and their families. Each of these graduates are homeschoolers, members of a worldwide community that includes over 2 million home-based schools. But while each of these graduates has reached the same objective, high school graduation, the paths they took to get here may have been very different. For example, one student may have spent her entire 12 years of elementary and high school using traditional textbooks and highly structured school days, much like a traditional classroom. Another may have spent his 12 years using a variety of hands-on techniques, books, experiments, and experiences to teach himself. Finally, yet another may have come home from a public or private school to focus more exclusively on science and math in preparation for entering college. Every homeschool is different, each has different goals, and each takes a different path to achieve their goals. I know, as a homeschooler, I spent 10 years at home in elementary and high school, including graduating. This video was from my graduation in 2007. But while there's great diversity among homeschoolers, most styles can be classified as falling on a spectrum, from schedule-based at one end to student-directed learning or unschooling on the other. There is also a wide variety of styles that fall in between the two extremes. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the different styles of homeschooling and show you some of the textbooks that we use. At one end of the spectrum is the schedule-based homeschooling style. It features very organized, highly structured days. The schedule often incorporates textbook work, chores, activities, and sometimes even free time. The schedule-based approach often uses traditional textbooks such as those used in public schools, or it may use specially tailored Christian curriculum. One program that is popular among schedule-based homeschoolers is the Basic Institute for Life Principles. This program is used by large families such as the Maxwells, who founded Titus II Ministries to minister to other scheduling families. Or the Duggars, who have the popular reality show 18 Kids and Counting. But schedules are not just for people who are enrolled in a program. Scheduling is often very helpful for families with many children, such as the Maxwells and Duggars. Now at the other end of the spectrum, we have student-directed learning, which is more often called unschooling. Unschooling is directed by the parents, but the students choose the time, subject, and place for their learning. Let me give you an example. Suppose there was a homeschool student who was very interested in textiles. She wanted to learn everything she could about textiles, fibers, knitting, sewing, fabric, everything she could learn. So, an astute unschooling parent could turn this into an opportunity for school. She could learn math by measuring, multiplying and dividing yarn gauge and fiber count, and find the area and perimeter of her project. She could learn history by learning fashion history and colonial trade back in the 1700s of fibers and textiles such as cotton. And she could even take it a step further and learn about consumer science through fashion design or even starting her own craft business. As you can see, unschooling is very flexible, and it doesn't have to be through hands-on activities. They may use books, such as books that teach how to knit, crochet, or sew. Even traditional textbooks, such as this classic, the Reader's Digest Complete Guide to Sewing. Many unschooling and unit studies can be constructed around these kinds of books. The possibilities of unschooling are endless. It's very hard to classify, but its very nature allows kids to learn real-world concepts while satisfying their natural curiosity. In between these two extremes of styles, there are a million combinations used by families. During my homeschool years, we never used one extreme or the other, but found our comfort zone in between. In reality, few families use only one style from the beginning to end. There are several popular styles of homeschooling that fall in between, as well as the typical mixes and hybrids that you find among individual families. Some specific in-between styles include classroom style, unit studies, classical education, and satellite schools. Classroom style homeschooling is just what it implies. Bring the school into the home. Sometimes this can blend with traditional schedule-based structure, but not always. One popular method for having a classroom in your home is to use video or satellite curricula, such as that offered by Bob Jones University or Pensacola Christian Academy. In this kind of class, a student receives a broadcast onto his or her television, and they are interacting with a teacher by watching the video and doing the homework as the teacher puts the activities on the board. However, you don't have to use a video or satellite in order to have a classroom-style homeschool experience. Many parents do it themselves, using books that are used in public schools, such as Saxon Math, books that have been specifically created for homeschoolers, such as Apologia Science, which has been consistently rated as one of the best college prep sciences curriculums in the country, or even computer-based programs such as Alpha Omega Switched On Schoolhouse. Now, while classroom-style learning is closer to the schedule-based approach, unit studies are closer to the unschooling approach. It's like a more structured version of unschooling. Parents may use character-based unit studies or subject-based unit studies. A character-based unit study is popular among religious homeschooling families, which comprise a significant majority of the population, or a significant percentage, not a majority anymore. Character-based unit studies feature one character trait, maybe per week or per month, such as love, sharing, honesty, and so forth, and build the studies around this one character trait. Subject-based unit studies are much like the textiles example we discussed earlier, but possibly more structured through the use of textbooks. A recent trend on an old education style is the classical education style. It's gaining popularity in recent years. Families focus on Greek, Latin, possibly Hebrew, logic, debate, writing, and history. This produces a very well-rounded, mentally stimulating liberal arts education. Another example of homeschooling, which falls in between, is satellite schools. If you don't feel confident homeschooling your own children by yourself, you have the option of operating under the umbrella of an outside organization. One way to do this is through correspondence. There are still a few schools that offer correspondence courses to homeschool students. You can also do internet-based correspondence schools. Remember, we talked about Alpha Omega Switched On Schoolhouse earlier. Well, Alpha Omega Academy has an academy, an online school that homeschoolers log into and participate in almost as though they were in a real school. They even get letter jackets and class rings on graduation. A third recent option is umbrella schools. Students operate under the auspices, under the influence of a public or private school, which provides materials, forms, reports, and the parent acts as the teacher or principal reporting the student's progress. There are many other materials that homeschoolers can use in their educational experience that may tend more toward one end of the spectrum but fall in the middle. For example, many homeschool students, no matter what style of homeschooling they use, enjoy supplementing their education with literature such as history books. These historical fiction novels could be turned into a unit study very easily because each one in this series of 48 focuses on a unique period in history. These could be easily used by an unschooling parent to develop a child's interest in a particular time period, or by a schedule-based homeschooler to supplement their reading activities, or by any kind in between. There are many other such resources as well, such as videos, documentaries, TV shows, computer programs, books, etc. As we've seen, the educational path of each homeschooler is very different. Some learn through textbooks, some through everything but textbooks. Not every homeschooler will receive a diploma, but at the end of the day, we can all come together and celebrate our unique educational heritage.